Today, I will want to reflect with you on responsible artificial intelligence, making a case for Afrocentric Datasets in developing AI solutions. The conversation that I'm going to be having with you is structured such that I'll be talking about the responsible AI pipeline. I will look at the need for unbiased data for model training. And then we will look at what the current situation is as far as existing data sets are concerned. And then we will look at what the suggested remedies are for bridging the gap as far as Afrocentric data sets are concerned. And so to begin with, in developing AI solutions, the pipeline is such that there are 4 key areas that we need to pay particular attention to. We need to look at the envisioning stage where we think through what exactly we want to do. And at this stage, involving stakeholders, making sure that there are no algorithmic biases, making sure that we have paid particular interest to social impact of the solutions that we are developing, environmental impact and compliance issues. All these we want to look at as far as the envisioning stage is concerned. Having gone through the envisioning stage, then we go through the very important stage of the consideration of what data that we need as far as training our models is concerned. Issues relating to whether the data is open data, transparency as far as the data is concerned, data protection issues, all these things are taken into consideration as far as the data stage is concerned. And then when we have obtained sufficient data, we go on and model our AI solutions using the existing data, and then we can go ahead and then deploy. The crux of the matter is that the kind of AI solution that we develop is primarily dependent on the amount of data set that is available to train the model. What we have realized in the Global South is that most of the data sets that are available were actually generated in the Global North. And so at the end of the day, using them for solutions that are related to the African environment has the tendency of generating solutions that are erroneous. And so we are making a strong case as far as the generation of Afrocentric data sets is concerned. Now, why do we need unbiased data for our model training? The first reason why it is important that there are no biases as far as the data is concerned has to do with ensuring that there is fairness and accurate predictions in the solutions that we develop. The reality is that if we are not careful and we are using data sets that are generated in the Global South, the Global North, and using them for situations in the Global South, then there is the likelihood that we are going to be getting solutions that are not so accurate. But as a result of the erroneous results that we are getting, we are going to be propagating the same erroneous impression over and over again. And so it is important that we develop solutions that can be trustworthy. Trustworthy in the sense that a typical example is when we are developing solutions, for instance, for farmers who are in the Global South. If we are using data that are generated in the Global North, at the end of the day, we are going to be getting solutions that are not very relevant as far as these farmers are concerned. And getting them to trust and want to use these solutions as far as their own situations are concerned is going to be very difficult. And so it is therefore important that we get solutions, data that is unbiased to be able to generate solutions that are accurate. Examples of biases in data, basically what we are looking at is, for instance, in a typical case of data that was used in developing a solution in the United States that relates to the legal process, we realized that people of color were getting maximum sentences. And that basically has to do with the kind of data sets that were used in training the models. And so basically the whole idea is that if the data sets that are being used are biased, at the end of the day, the solutions that are generated have the tendency of giving us erroneous results. Another example also borders on issues that relate to generating a solution for issues that relate to cancer. What we realized was that the data sets that were used in generating this solution, a greater number of them were from the global north. And so when it came to people of color, these solutions were actually not applicable as far as their situation was concerned. But ethically, it's important that when we have developed a solution, the solution must be applicable to all manner of persons. Unfortunately, because there are sufficient data sets for people of color, it's at the end of the day limits the reach as far as these solutions are concerned. What is the current situation that we have as far as data sets that we have to work with is concerned? There is a key issue that when it comes to natural language processing, for those of us who have used ChatGPT in recent times, when it comes to getting translation, when the translations border on places that are outside, like getting translation for Spanish and the others, it is much, much easier, and you are able to get solutions that are almost accurate. But if you were to ask for translations into languages like Hausa, like Swahili, like Twi, like Akan, you will realize that the results that you are going to be getting are very, very bad. What that means is that there are not enough data sets from the global south to be able to train models that are in that region. And so primarily what it means is that we need to increase the effort that we are currently embarking upon as far as data sets in terms of language sets that are available are concerned. Additionally, what we can also say is that when it comes to the solutions that are being developed, it is always important that there is a very good representation from all manner of persons. And what we realize is that Africa is not very represented as far as the gathering of data is concerned. So several instances when solutions are developed, there isn't a lot of inclusion as far as people in the global south is concerned. A practical problem that we realized in the health sector, applying artificial intelligence to health, is when a health solution was developed for dermatologists to use. This solution was done somewhere in Kenya. And we realized that there weren't sufficient data sets as far as skin color for people in Africa was concerned. And so if you use that solution for people who were in Europe, America, in other places, that solution was giving accurate results. But when it was used for African situations or people who were of African origin, the solution was not accurate. What that means is that there weren't enough data sets from Africa to be able to train the models. And once again, it gives credence to the need for a lot of data sets to be generated that are of African origin. The second example that I give is the example of pattern recognition. The only data sets that currently is available as far as pattern recognition is concerned is the COCO data sets. And what was realized is that when it comes to pattern recognition, most of the data that was used are for situations of people in the global north. And so if you were trying to use this data set for situations in Africa, what it meant was that you were going to be getting results that are not very, very accurate. There is also the whole issue about developing a solution in the health, AI in health, with reference to polygenic risk scores that helps us to be able to know how susceptible people are as far as diseases are concerned. That also came out that for people of the global south, you definitely were not going to be getting very accurate results as far as their susceptibility to a particular disease is concerned, because the data sets based on which the model was trained, most of them are from the global north. That also gives credence to the fact that if indeed the solutions that we are developing are for the benefit of all manner of persons, then it is important that these solutions that are developed has a fair representation of data sets from both the global north and the global south. Also, in the area of agriculture, we realize that indeed for those who are developing agricultural solutions, most of the data sets that are available to them are data sets of situations in the global north. If, for instance, you were developing a solution for, let's say, a vegetable like tomato, and you were growing this particular crop in the global south, and yet the data sets that are available for you to train your models are from Europe or America or others, the environment within which the crop is growing plays a very key role as far as the accuracy of your solution is concerned. And so to the extent that there are no data sets in this regard, at the end of the day, you are definitely not going to be getting accurate results. And once again, gives credence to the fact that we need to make a very conscious effort to generate a lot of data sets that are of African origin. For those of us who are familiar with various platforms where you are encouraged to be very decorous in the kind of speech that you throw out there, you realize that if, for instance, you were speaking English and you use abusive language, the API will pick that abusive language and then punitive measures will be exacted onto you. But there are instances where people will use abusive language, and this abusive language will be in an African language. And because the API doesn't have that intelligence to recognize that that particular language that has been spoken is abusive, it is not able to pick it up. And so for fairness sake and for making sure that we are able to treat people decently, it is important that we increase the data sets as far as natural language processing is concerned, so that when people use abusive languages, abusive words in languages in their own area, we are able to pick it up and then make sure that people do the right thing. Having said all these, what is it that we need to do to make sure that we are able to bridge the gap? The first thing I am saying is that it is important that we make conscious efforts to ensure that we have data sets that are of both global north and global south origin. Where there is a bias and it is aligned only to a particular region, at the end of the day, the solutions that we are going to be generating are not going to be accurate. And so we need to make efforts, and resources have to be made available so that we gather sufficient data sets from the global south as well. And proper collection methods need to be used. For instance, where we are deploying a solution and this solution is actually going to be used in the global south, it is important that in the deployment process, we also create an avenue where new data is generated so that we can be able to add on to the amount of data that is available as far as solutions in the global south is concerned. It is my hope that this conversation that we have had will go a long way to impact and affect our orientation as far as generation of data sets is concerned. And then we are able to bridge that gap so that when we develop solutions, these solutions will be useful both for people of the global south and of the global north. I want to thank you so much for spending this time to listen to this presentation. And it is my hope that we can continue to engage as far as fairness and making sure that the solutions we develop are for the good of humanity is concerned. My name is Jerry John, speaking from the Responsible Artificial Intelligence Lab here at KNUST Ghana, and I look forward to engaging with you again. Thank you.